long distance from his
from
work
Jamaica.
phone.
And
He's at work, and as Amina
he got
says,
fired.
he was in training, right? So this dude in training, whatever, because he's trying to be a chef or whatever he said he wanted to be. He's sitting on the table calling somebody long distance, bruh.
Well, that's how you back in the day. Look at him. Back in the day,
He's
that's how
like,
you used to have to
fire
slide
me.
in. Nah, see, back in the day,
My
if
daddy
you-
got 2 jobs.
Okay, people need to understand, if you're one of the young ones, you do not understand long distance and international calling. Okay, long distance calling, when
Ooh,
you had a
yeah.
landline, all right, it was the thing where not only did you have your regular local phone company, but then you would select a long distance carrier. And back in the day, they had long distance carriers like Sprint and MCI, and they would be charging you a certain amount per minute, because phone calls that were out of your local area would cost extra money, and it could be a lot of money you could run up on long distance, right?
Right. So there was this thing, maybe it was Dateline or something, but there was this man who started a long distance phone company, and you know how they ask you who you want to use or whatever, and he named it "It Doesn't Matter." So people would be like, "It doesn't matter," and then they would. That's how he made money.
Yeah, that's how he made his money, because he selected that was the name, right? Oh, it doesn't matter. Sounds good to us. Foolishness. Just foolishness.
And then you know how they do on those shows. Then they have to do it. And then they were like, hold on. What company are you?
And so the thing is, if you worked for a company, then and you had access to long distance, like some people would sneak and make long distance phone calls from their job. Like if it was just routine, they're not looking at every number you call. But you just can't be on there all day and all of that. People would sneak. And so what he did, that was an international call. But what he did was, something that a lot of people probably would do.
And like if you're a kid and then you
run up your parents' bill.
Or your parents, they're talking to other family, and I want to talk to my cousin. They're like, hurry up, it's long distance. You can't even get any time.
Know how it used to be, because now with cell phones, everything is unlimited unless you go probably like out of the country and whatever. But back in the day, like this was how they made their money. And it could get really expensive, and you could just get long distance, charges on your phone bill to the point where, your phone bill is hundreds of dollars and you can't afford to pay it, and your phone will get shut off, But yeah, that would be like a whole mess from back then. Case and Brown says, I remember those international phone cards. But it's funny to me when I think about how life has changed since then, and the stuff that we do now. Like you could talk all day and all night and nobody even thinks anything of it. But back then you'd be like, hold on real quick. Bye. That's it.
Let me write you a letter.
But yeah, Winston has called her on the phone and says Delilah gave him the number because he came by. He really did come by looking for her, but she'd already left. Because remember, she did not leave with Delilah because, they're flying to 2 different coasts. So Delilah was apparently still there at the resort after Stella had already left. And so he runs into Delilah. Delilah gives him the number. He calls.
Stella had got a groove back.
Yes. So he calls, and Stella's all excited. She had to put the phone down and be like, oh my God, And so he called and says that he missed her. And she's so happy to hear from him and whatever. He said, I wrote a letter, but I was afraid to send it. And she was like, well, you could fax it.
Bruh, come on now.
Fax it, man. No. I remember when fax was just like state of the art, like, man, I have a fax machine. And you were real fancy once you could fax like electronically. Oh, man.
Yeah.
The way this technology changes stuff is hilarious. But he talks about, hey, when I get this and that, then I'm going to try to come see you and whatever. And then all of a sudden, mind you, she had just told Quincy she didn't know they need to conserve money and stuff, that she didn't know about taking him to Jamaica. But when after Winston called, she was like, well, I had promised to take Quincy.
She lost her job and everything, and she have her little savings, but she like, we're going to Jamaica.
She's like, I need to get some stress relief. And that's what she went to do. So she and Quincy go back to Jamaica.
You want that attitude adjuster.
She introduces the kids to Quincy. And,
who are the kids?
Her son Quincy, who's 11, and I guess the same age her niece, who I'm not sure which sister that the niece belonged to. It could have been Vanessa or it could have been Angela. I'm kind of
Is it
thinking
the one with the white dude? Maybe
it's probably not that one. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's probably. I'm thinking this must be Vanessa's
Yeah,
daughter.
but either way, so the niece, she's just like she like how the dude look, right? But see, Quincy over there, he in the pool hating.
He is.
He hating bad, talking about she couldn't find a man in America, so she had to get with this young guy. Oh man!
Listen, y'all going off in the
he
chat.
hating on his mama.
Casey Brown was talking about minutes free after a certain time, talking about them cell phone minutes. And Amina Muhammad talking about pen pals. Listen, do y'all know these young ones? Do y'all know what a pen pal is? Because that is what people used to be doing back in the day.
In middle school, what we done, everybody in the class wrote a letter and had to send it to a random school somewhere else. And they were like, just basically write it to any school, and then whoever the postal workers will send it, right? And it was like, oh, don't send it to a big city because they might not know where to send it to and stuff. So yeah, that was a thing of just sending a letter to random people and hope that they write you back.
Yeah,
you got to tell them about your life. We eat crawfish.
Oh my God. Let me tell y'all, we were talking one day and he was talking about school lunches in Louisiana where he grew up, and I was talking about the school lunches in Chicago where I mostly grew up. And he was like, yeah, we used to have gumbo. I was like, never in the Chicago public schools history did I have some gumbo.
Yeah, well,
we never had gumbo.
Why would you have gumbo?
Y'all was getting good.
Nobody in
meals
Chicago
over here,
should be making
gravy.
gumbo.
Y'all hear this? The prejudice of it all. Nobody in Chicago should be making gumbo, he says.
Make me some pizza.
Yes. I just want to remind you guys that we still do have slots for our premium film sponsorship program, which basically means height. You know, you could say it succinctly. What they got to do?
All you got to do is you go to Axiom.app or to our Cash App, drop $25, and we're going to cover the movie that you want us to cover. But it's not for a promotion for filmmakers. If you don't even do that, I really need someone to go to Axiom.app and drop a donation, though, so that I know that everything is set up right over there before we go to the next stage of what I'm building, too.
Yes. So, Lyric says, was the gumbo actually good?
Yeah, the gumbo was good. When it's so mostly during the winter time they got gumbo and you like, oh yeah, okay. And I think they had potato salad too, but it was like, yeah, gumbo day it's gonna be packed like chicken day.
Making gumbo without the roux, Randy Johnson said.
What?
Talking about, I guess that's what the people in Chicago would be doing. Listen. So then Bree Beauty says some of the folks nowadays still have pen pals.
Yeah, basically.
You know,
like
Jay
actual
Buggin said
letters?
That too. Yeah, we had pen pals. We were in elementary and our pen pals were in college.
Dang.
That could go wrong.
Like I was telling the story of when I was deployed into a war, that random people wrote us and sent us stuff.
Oh, yeah, your care boxes.
Yeah, they would send like care packages and stuff. And yeah, you kind of obligated to send them a letter back. Yeah. So it was that sort of thing. But they had this thing where you could send, I guess through a website, you send a message and then they would mail it to us.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So you could do it online and then send it.
I kind of vaguely
mail.
remember some stuff like where you could do something like that. But so Quincy is introduced to Winston, and he was hating at first, but then Winston, because he's young enough to be able to know how to play with kids and know what they would enjoy. They're in the pool and he just takes his clothes off and he's like, Marco Polo, and he starts playing with them, and then any apprehension Quincy had was gone, and Quincy was just like in love with him. He liked him from that point on.
Because he was a kid too.
So then we see Winston and Stella hanging out and whatever, and the bartender sees them, and she's all flirting with Winston a little bit, and then she's like, oh, you and your mother must be, and then so they just played along, right? And they were like, and she's like, you must really have missed your mother. She was like, yeah, I missed her so much. Then he starts tonguing down. He said,
let me show you how much I missed her.
And then she was just appalled, and then she like walks away or whatever. But I think you should always that bartender was just hating, because you should
No,
always be
yeah,
careful about what assumptions you make about people's relationship to one another, especially in a resort or something like that, you
yeah.
know. Randy Johnson talk about no shade to the shy.
They just not a gumbo place.
You know. So then Winston comes back talking about how he quit his job in the kitchen when they're having a little pillow talk or whatever. And she's like, "Oh, really?" She was
I
like, and then
quit
she
my
talked about,
job
"I quit
too.
my job too. Nah, I got fired." So he's like, "What? You got fired?" And then he's asked her if she's okay. You
No.
know, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And she starts talking about money.